Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. Is not an easy answer. The 3 laws of physics, which I learned at MIT, say that you can't win. It's not possible to break even. You can't quit the game though. You could stop now and feel down, but we don't want to lose. You start to wonder, what if we could get out of this game, then we'd be even. You might win then. Satoshi figured it out, he gave it away. He then left. That's all for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a form of digital money. That's what he made. In the beginning of a busy afternoon of keynotes, panels and speakers, MicroStrategy founder Michael Saylor gave an interesting talk that was an investment pitch for Bitcoin aimed at both people and countries. Saylor used a lot of evidence to back up his claim that Bitcoin's features as a digital currency could cause its value to rise above $1.13 million per coin by 2004 or 2005 as more people use it. He thought that between 2004 and 2005, the price of a Bitcoin coin could run from $3 million in a bearish case to $49 million in a bullish case. At the end of day 2 of Bitcoin 2024, presidential candidate Robert Kennedy Jr. made big promises for his possible government. He promised to move 200,000 Bitcoin to Bitcoin, being held by the U.S. government as a critical reserve asset by the U.S. Treasury at the moment. Kennedy also promised to sign orders telling the U.S. Treasury to buy 550 BTC every day until the U.S. gets there, builds up a stock of at least 4 million Bitcoin. This would put us in charge, and no other country could take it away from us. About 19% of the world's gold reserves are in our country. With this rule, we will get about the same amount of Bitcoin as before, Kennedy said. He said that this strategy would cause Bitcoin's value to reach hundreds of trillions of dollars. Edward Snowden gave a sobering speech on the Nakamoto main stage in Nashville, which brought to light the political themes that ran through the conference's schedule. It was told by Snowden that politicians are trying to get Bitcoiners to support them for their own reasons. They're not our group. They are not you as a person. They are looking for different things and are interested in different things. Snowden said to try to get what you need from them, but not give up your own life, even if you have to vote for them. And this is what makes things hard for us. Let's talk about things that are worth money. I would like to keep my money for a long time. As soon as you put $1 billion into pesos, the value of the money will go down, right? A rate of 98% inflation takes away your money or economic power. This is not a good tool for the long term. The Turkish lira is your money, and it lasts for 3 years. With the way money has been inflationary for the past 100 years, the US dollar might last 14 years, but you don't really have it for that long. Over the 14 years, your life is being sucked out of you in a straight line. Invest your money in a hedge fund. How much does it cost a year? The fee is 2% of the gain, plus 20% of the gain. 4% a year if you put your money into normal assets. This item has a 25-year value. Treasuries will give you a yield, but the after-tax return of 3.5% will not keep up with the 7% inflation in money. Your money might last 30 years. Putting money into a joint fund with a 1% fee for 100 years. That's the best you'll get. It will cost you 1% if you can buy a diverse portfolio for 10 basis points. This is because of the counterparty risk. That's all the money you have. The way the world is run is based on ideas from the 20th century, and your money will usually last you 30 years. As we all know, inflation lowers the value of money and other assets. But inflation is only the beginning. It will also be less powerful because of fees, tolls, torts, transfers, and taxes. The government taxed our income and cash gains in many ways. You have to pay taxes on the money every time you move it or make it rattle. Then, if taxes and torts don't kill you, there's weather, competition, obsolescence, politics, and disaster. Those are the things that make your cash less valuable over time, and you have to fight that pressure if you want to keep the economy going. So, most people give up on financial assets and start focusing on actual assets to protect their capital because it's pointless and frustrating to try to win that way. Here is the actual thing, which is a Ferrari. It's not a good way to keep your money forever though, because after 5 years, the insurance, repairs, and loss of value have cost you as much as the money is worth. As long as you spend 10% of your money on upkeep, yachts aren't much better. They also lose value over time. Yachts are not a good place to keep your money. If you buy a house in Miami Beach for $10 million, you'll need another $10 million to keep it in good shape for 17 years. You no longer have any money. Silver, 22 years, 40 or 50 years in a building. 62 years a bar of gold. A picture for 72 years. Most of the time, the U.S. property tax rate is 1.1%. In other words, Your money will last 91 years. Your house will last less than 91 years unless the government changes how much it's worth. King Ranch is the largest family ranch in the United States. They were alive for 173 years. Every other family in the country failed. This is the Crown Estate in the UK, which has been owned for the longest time. However, it wasn't really the royal family that owned it since 1066. It went from the Plantagenets to the caretakers, then to the Lancasters and Yorks, and finally to the Hanover family. So maybe 7 different families got a piece of that. They couldn't take it with them. You might think that real things will last 1,000 years, but they'll only last about 50 to 70 years at most. The value of your physical goods is going down because of entropy. That's taking away their money and energy. It's called Earth, not heaven, for a reason. Because lawmakers think of lots of new ideas. The property had a city tax, a county tax, a state tax, a federal tax, a transfer tax, and a usage tax. If that doesn't work, you have competitors, rent control, price control, or a culture shock. It's possible that someone will treat you badly. It's a slump. The value of the cash can drop. The people who rent from you won't pay you. Someone will sue you because they slipped and fell on the front steps. There's war and bad weather. A lot of bad things could happen, and energy costs would go through the roof. It would be hard for you to make a living. Satoshi figured it out. He gave it away. He then left. That's all for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a form of digital money. That's what he made. Bitcoin's capital that will never die, change, or be made of matter. I use that in this way. It will live forever. It's not being attacked by things like weather, chaos, and inflation. In the sense that it's not in the real world, it's immaterial. It's not going through all of those terrible things that happen when you lose your money or property. And it's the answer to our money problems. The trouble we're all having can be solved by moving our capital from financial and physical sources to digital ones. Now, how long does Bitcoin last? So, put your Bitcoin in the hands of a manager that is good enough for institutions. You have to pay 10 basis points. That means you'll live 1,000 years, according to the first law of money. It doesn't matter if the caretaker doesn't last 1,000 years, you can move the Bitcoin every year or 10 years and stay one step ahead of them in case they fail. There is no way to move a building. You can't send the King Ranch somewhere else. That's why Bitcoin is something you can move. Let's say you keep your Bitcoin safe. If you buy good hardware wallets and signing devices and set aside 1 day a year to keep track of your Bitcoin, you can keep it safe for about 1 basis point a year. This is an asset that will last 10,000 years. If you give it to the AI, what will happen? Those private keys can be kept safe by an AI or a computer software for the price of electricity. It's a treasure that will last 100,000 years. The AIs will want the Bitcoin. They will obviously choose to own the Bitcoin over the ranch in Texas or the gold bar over the Argentine peso. You can see why they'll want it here. They should be put in a separate category. You can tell they're not like the other assets you can use to protect your capital because they barely match.